The roots broken, God love and keep strong. Used to prove you now wrong.
Oh boy.
Hey, in there. We back up in this thing. In this thing. Oh, excuse me. So, welcome to another episode of Fathers Handling Business. I'm your host, Juan Marsh.
Dante Witherspoon.
And we are here today asking a real question. So, we're both victims of divorce, right? We are on the other side of the spectrum of marriages that especially minority marriages that didn't necessarily last.
Yes.
So now we're on to new relationships. Both of us are in new relationships.
Both have kids.
I went through this many moons ago, but you went through this pretty recently.
Yes.
And so introducing your children to your new partner, right? So when is the right time to do that? Is there a right time to do that? How do you know when the right time is to do that? How do you handle what the emotions are? It's going to be more not faithful, but loyal to their mother.
They're gonna ride for their mom.
Yeah, they're gonna ride for their mom. Like, and I got all boys, so my boys are mama's boys. I was mama's boy. By default though, because I didn't know my pops, so it's a little different. But most boys are mama's boys. That's just is what it is.
This is true.
So, dive into it. So, how do you know when the right time is to introduce your children to a new partner?
Well, I feel like it varies. It always varies. I think that there has to be a lot of communication involved, right?
Okay.
And so the biggest thing is making sure that if you are going to introduce your children to someone that you're talking to, dating, a new partner, a girlfriend, or what have you, you gotta know in your heart of hearts that this is something it's gonna last. You don't want to just introduce your kids to, this chick, and then a couple weeks later, another chick.
Yeah.
So I think the timing always varies, but one of the biggest things that you have to realize is that, am I serious? Or, fellas out there, are you serious about this relationship? And if so, do you think it's going to last? Is it worth introducing your children?
Okay, so question for you.
Yeah.
How long were you with your partner before you introduced her to your kids?
That's a great question.
I know I asked a lot of questions. I don't know if you noticed.
So I'm trying to let me make sure my math is mathing. I want to say, okay, August, we're talking October. I want to say it was a good few months. I want to say
few months.
5, 6 months.
5 months. Okay.
I think I could be wrong though.
5 months.
It's been a long time
for you, right? For me, it was 3 years.
Yeah, that's a long time.
I was with my current wife, but girlfriend, for 3 years before she met my kids. Now she knew about my kids, and part of that was on me, right? Because as you said, You don't want to be introducing this person and that person and
Right.
confusing and making sure. And so I wasn't ready to make that full commitment, right, in the first couple of years. And so that's why for me, I was like, no, I'm not gonna do that. But even though keep it G, like I knew, I was gonna be where like when I first met her.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like I just like men know. We know the difference between, for the streets, for the home. like we know the difference right away. But for me specifically, I knew that I wasn't. I was like, oh yeah, that's the one, but I'm not there yet. You know what I'm saying? So so for me, it took 3 years. And even then, I was trying to be careful. I was trying to be, and even then, it was still like a disaster.
we gonna get to the disaster part.
Yeah.
In a minute. I think for me, and like you said, I knew right away as well. Actually, I was not willing to date anybody until my kids did. I was like, people thought I was crazy. Like, you're not going to date until your kids are in high school. That's crazy. My kids now are 12 and 9. At the time, this was back in 2020, 4 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is 4 years ago. And I was saying this stuff like, I'm not gonna date until my kids are in high school or
Right.
done with high school.
Right.
And my friends are like, man, you're
Nice
crazy.
try.
Yeah.
Nice try.
But then now my current girlfriend, who we've been dating now for 4 years, when we reconnect, and I'm going to say reconnected because I've known her since the 8th grade. We reconnected at my stepdad's memorial services. And so, unfortunately my stepdad passed away. We hadn't talked in 9 years prior to that. And so we just started talking and just as friends catching up, like life, like 9 years went by and we hadn't talked. And so when we were talking every day and decided like, hey, like, this is kind of nice, I knew then that, okay, she's going to be the one.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Prior to that, if you would have asked me like, oh, like, are you thinking about dating or are you ready to date? I would have told you, no, I'm not thinking about dating. I'm not going to date. And it was specifically because it was her. If it was anyone else, we wouldn't be having this conversation as far as me dating anyone or introducing my kids to anyone.
I mean, that makes sense because you already had a prior relationship with this person and you kind of just rekindled an old flame. Am I saying that right?
Well, I would say friendship.
Or rekindled a friendship turned into something.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I can dig that. So yeah, it varies. So I guess the question is, what are some steps parents can take to prepare their children for meeting someone new?
Yeah, preparation is always key. Slow and steady. You know the story of the tortoise and the hare. Slow and steady wins the race. We don't need to jump all in and be like, hey, like, here's your new stepmom. Like, like ease some stuff in there. Like, oh, like, I want to introduce you to my friend.
Right.
Start off like that. Go to a park. See how the kids react to this new partner that's in their lives, or potential new partner, I should say. And you're also checking to see like how she connects with your children. Like, you got to make sure that connection is there. You got to make sure your kids are connecting with her. And so, I mean, I think easing in is key.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. And this is just general advice. For me, I think the first interaction with any relationship should be fun.
Yes.
Right.
1000%.
It's like do something fun. So even like on my first date with my current wife, like we went to an amusement park.
Okay.
That was our first date. Right.
With the kids?
No.
Oh,
No. I'm saying like that was our first date in
oh,
general. Like when we
gotcha.
first, like we didn't do dinner and a movie, nothing like that. Like
Okay.
we met, and then when we went on our first date, it was at an amusement park during the day, lots of people around,
Yeah.
lots of time to interact, talk, walk, chill, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying, and do something fun. So same thing when she met my kids, we went to like a family fun center with like go-karts
Okay.
and arcade and I also invited one of my other friends and his child.
Okay.
Right. So it was like a group event that
Right.
we were all just having fun. You know what I'm saying? Like you said. So
So your
the
sons.
interact. It was my sons, my homeboy, his daughter, and then my girlfriend.
Okay.
And so we all kind of just went to this. I can't remember what it's called, but it had like go-karting
Yeah.
and arcade and pizza, and it was a fun
Okay.
type of situation. So
How did it go for your kids?
I mean, they had fun.
They had fun.
Yeah. So it wasn't like an awkward situation where I was like, "Hey guys, this is so and so, and you know, she's my new girlfriend." Like it wasn't even like that.
Right.
It was just like I was like, "Hey, this is Brenda. It's my friend Brenda." It's like, "Okay, cool. Let's go get on these go-karts." You know what I'm saying? Like, like it wasn't. And so, you know, I think
How old were they?
they were young. They were so 3 years. So my youngest had to been like 8. So they had to been like 8 and 10.
8, 10. Okay.
Yeah, they had been somewhere around there, like 8 and 10. Because this was they had been around there.
Okay.
Right. So maybe give or take a year. But they were young. They were just kids.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't even think that they were in there. They definitely weren't in their you know, prepubescent stages. Maybe my older son was, but they were cool. And we had fun.
Yeah. I think that's key. Going and having fun is huge.
Mm-hmm.
I ask about age because there is, when I say when is the right time, or you know, the first question you asked, and I said it varies, is because it also varies on what age your children are.
Right.
So I would say the younger, the actual better, because they don't really know what's going on. So if you're like, you got like a 2-year-old, it's just like, oh, cool. Like they don't know.
They have no idea.
And then they're going to adjust way faster than someone who's like 15 years old.
Correct.
And all they've known is their mom, you know, if they had a mom or whatever. So, and like you said, they're going to be loyal to their mom, right? But you know, you get some leeway with like the 5-year-olds and 8-year-olds and the 10-year-olds. Like it'll take them a little bit longer to adjust, but not as long as a teen, or you know, a preteen or a teenager, or someone who's on their way out of high school. You know,
right.
So it's going to vary. It's definitely going to vary. Where you know, I would say some common reactions once your kids knew that things were getting serious.
My kids didn't really react to me per se, but I heard it from my ex-wife.
Okay.
Right. Like they came in and kind of told her, and you know, but they didn't really react towards me or my then girlfriend, you know, in any type of negative way. You know, my kids are very respectful, so there was no, you know, I never had any situations where there was like disrespect or you know, them, you know, not showing no love or not being friendly or anything like that. And so that was all good, but also we didn't have like I don't know. We never had any. I'm trying to think back. Like we didn't really have any issues. Like they spent Christmases with us, and you know, open presents and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, reactions weren't bad. Like from that time to the time we got married was, I don't know, like another 5-6 years.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So they, you know, they're used to you know, what the situation was. And like you said, the ages really make a difference. And I made that conscious decision once I knew that it wasn't going to work with my, you know, ex. Like I wanted to get out as fast as I could so that they wouldn't be attached to us like this.
Right.
And then, you know, the older they get, we're trying to, you know, work it out and all this other kind of stuff. And then it ultimately doesn't work. And so, yeah, so that was a conscious decision that I made, that like, okay, I see where this is going, you know what I'm saying? Let me go ahead and cut it off quick now so that the healing can begin.
Yeah. Okay.
You know?
I think I had two different reactions. So my daughter responded one way and my son responded differently. My daughter is the younger one. And so it was, I would say it was like immediate connection. You know, girl, like here we have a girly girl daughter, and then my girlfriend, she's girly girl. And so there was connection.
Nice.
Right. Whereas my son is very intuitive, even at a very young age. And he was just like, he was keeping his, I don't know, I don't want to say distance. He was like, both very respectful.
Right.
But he just kind of like took a step back and kind of observed the situation.
Observing the landscape.
Yeah.
Seeing what's going on.
And so, and then there was a time where he was like, okay, he's all in. And then now in his preteen years, now he's like kind of doing the same thing again. And like still super respectful. It was like, there was one point where he was just like all in.
Right.
And super close. And now it's not that he's not all in. He's just, I think he has
going through his stuff.
Yeah, he's going through his own stuff.
I think.
Whereas my daughter's she's super connected and stays close. And yeah, I think the biggest thing is, maybe it's not the biggest thing. It's actually not. But you know, when it comes, like, let's say, like when we get married, the word mom or stepmom, you know what I mean?
Well, before we get to that, like, what are some exact words that parents can use to talk to their children about the new relationship? Like before, so did you sit down with your kids before they met your current girlfriend and say, hey, you're about to meet so-and-so, this is what's going to happen? Did you kind of lay it out for them, or what do you feel is the best method as far as like words to say?
So ideally, that's a twofold question for me, because ideally, yes, you would want to do that. You would want to almost like prepare the kids for what they're going to walk into, so they're not kind of like blindsided. In my situation, I've had a relationship with my girlfriend's brother for many, many years, since I was in 8th grade, and he's younger. And so my kids have been around their family for a long time. They haven't been around my girlfriend for all those years,
right?
Because she wasn't living in the house, and she was, off doing her own thing, school, college, all that stuff, right? But my kids, every time I would go back home and visit, like I would take my kids and then see my girlfriend's brother. They call him Uncle Mario.
Okay.
And his parents, and so I was introducing them to Uncle Mario's sister, right? And so it was something that was not.
I mean, they can kind of misconstrue that and be like, hold up, you dating aunt?
Yeah, they could.
You dating, hold on, if that's Uncle Mario, that's her sister. You dating auntie? Hold on, cuz.
Yeah, but because they didn't have a relationship with her,
Right.
before.
I get it.
So it was like it was a little different.
Yeah.
It was a little different.
Mm-hmm.
But it kind of all fell like into place.
Right.
Once I did introduce her to them, it was kind of cool because they're like, "Oh, you're Uncle Mario's sister." Like,
yeah.
At some, they were probably like, "We didn't know you had a sister."
Yeah, probably.
But it was cool. It was cool, and they were very receptive.
So this is a controversial question, I'm sure.
Yeah,
and maybe it's not, but who comes first?
What do you mean?
You know what I mean.
Who comes first?
Who comes first? Who's who's number one? Who's the priority? Do you prioritize the kids or do you prioritize now? Obviously, if we're talking about girlfriend relationship over wife relationship.
Yeah, I could answer that. I could answer that, absolutely. So I'll answer as girlfriend, like my kids are gonna come first.
Okay.
That just until we become one.
Okay.
Right. Kids are gonna be first. I mean, second to God, but I'm saying
of course,
right?
That's a given.
And I feel like my girlfriend knows that.
Okay.
Now we're getting closer to the like engagement. I don't want to throw anything out there, right?
I mean, you
I
just
did.
I
don't want to ruin any surprises. So hopefully she don't. But yeah, once we become married, then it's the two shall become one.
Correct.
And she's first, right?
Okay.
We are then one, loving, raising, parenting the children together.
Okay.
Right. So, and again, second to God. So it's God, then her, then the kids, and then ourselves. Right.
Okay.
Like these are all sacrificial relationships.
Correct.
Right? We give our lives to the Lord. We sacrifice. We give our best. We love the Lord our God with all of our heart, mind, soul, body, strength, and then we foster our marriage. We tend to our marriage, and then within that marriage, the two are one. We foster and raise the children together. And then because we are sacrificing all those things, we're giving and giving and giving in all those relationships, we also need to pour back into our own relationship, our own lives, I should say, so that we can continue to keep pouring back into others.
So how do you balance that? So for instance, like right now you're in the girlfriend phase, right? Which I once was as well. So how do you balance knowing who to give the priority when, and how the kids can balance, you know what I'm saying? Like who comes first? Like, has there been any, or when there's conflict? Because sometimes there is conflict, right?
Yeah.
There is, kids need this, but also she needs that,
Right.
When it comes to quality time, they love quality time.
Quality time.
You feel me? But to give quality time to your kids as well, right? So how do you balance that? What is some tools and some ways that parents can do that?
Right. So as adults, we know that we have responsibilities, and those the top responsibilities is taking care of kids, meeting the needs of your kids. And yes, do we have needs as adults? Yeah, like especially being in a relationship? Absolutely. And you mentioned quality time. And if
QT, baby.
Yeah, if that's your partner's love language, then you need to give your partner how they receive love. And so that quality, and that is one of my friends' love languages, quality time.
I don't know a girl who doesn't like quality time. I don't think I met one of those yet.
So date nights,
Yeah.
And the kids' schedule is so crazy. Like the only real date night we get, only day I should say for date night, is Monday nights.
Right.
That is when they are with their mom. That is when
but You supposed to be at the gym playing ball, bro.
Man,
You're supposed to be at the gym with us hooping, man. What's going on?
If I could split my time, if I could split my time, I would. Yeah, no, you have to sacrifice.
Yeah, 100%.
You have to sacrifice. Please believe, like, there are times where I'm just like, she's at home by 5 o'clock, and I'm like, man, I could be at the gym right now. You know what I mean? And so there are times where it's like I do want to be at the gym because playing hooping for me, that's how I pour back into myself.
Yeah, of course,
right. And so I just got to find other days like Friday mornings or something, you know, to fill my tank in that way. It's not as great competition as Monday nights, but yeah. And then like every other Friday, we sometimes get time to ourselves.
Okay.
And so it has to be one night a week at least where we're
making time for each other and making time for each other. So what advice would you give to the new partner? So we talked about how you're going to talk to your kids, but how do you talk to your partner about their role? Like, did you have a discussion like this is going to be your role, and did you give defined guidelines? Is it even advisable to give guidelines, or is it because sometimes now I've seen memes and I've seen videos of girlfriends overstepping their bounds or whooping kids or disciplining them, and then the mother gets off and she shows up at the front door like, did you whoop my kid? Don't let the girl whoop my kid. You know what I'm saying? Like all that kind of stuff. So how can we sidestep that and quell that in the beginning of the relationship?
Yeah, you definitely want to have a conversation about how they can be supportive. So the role is a supportive role, and what does that look like? And we always want to make sure that there's a conversation about boundaries, about respect, and what they're comfortable with too. We don't want to be the dad that's just like, you know what? I'm so glad you're with me now, that you're my girlfriend. I've been wanting and needing a female in my life, so they take care of my kids. You know what I mean? There's dads out there like that, be like, whew, all right, here you go.
Right.
And they just hand their kids off to essentially this complete stranger. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it can't be like that. And so there has to be time where there's trust being built. There has to be a time where there's just where the kids get to know her, she gets to know the kids. Like, building a trust is huge in this whole like situation. And so that needs to happen. So having a supportive role is key, but identifying, clarifying what that supportive role looks like is key as well. So you have to have that conversation.
Yeah. I didn't do a very good job at that. Because I didn't have my kids most of the time when I had my kids, like it was just me and them, and so it wasn't really a time where and my kids weren't like needed to be babysat or nothing like that. So it wasn't a time where she was alone with them too often, you know what I'm saying? So we didn't really have those type of issues where and my kids for the most part, my kids was good, so they didn't have to, really wasn't no disciplinary type of stuff. I mean, other than put the toilet seat down, you know what I'm saying, that kind of stuff. But, so I really didn't have that conversation. But when they got a little bit older and they started getting into their teen and pubescent and the attitudes and stuff like that, it was more where she came to me and was like, this is happening, like you need to handle this type of situation.
Right. Okay.
But in my mind, I'm like, well, like, you're not a stranger, like, and this is in your house, like, just tell them to stop doing X, Y, Z.
Right.
So having that conversation and making your partner feel comfortable enough to say something to your kids is a thing too. Some people are on the other spectrum where they just feel like, well, since I'm here, like I have this authority. And then my wife was kind of on the other, like, I don't want to overstep my bounds.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So having that conversation, if I would have had that conversation with her and them, sat both of them down and kind of said like, hey, but as I said, my kids were pretty respectful for the most part. Like there's no like cussing out or nothing crazy like that. So, I just didn't feel like there needed to be that conversation because there wasn't really, big issues. But in a lot of relationships, you also have to know who your partner is, right?
100%.
Know their personality, know the kids, and the age of the kids matters a lot.
Yeah.
Because they're going through different phases, going through different things. And the younger the kids are, the more disciplined. That's just what that is, So yeah, just having those conversations is always key.
Yeah, 1000%. I couldn't agree with you. It is very important to, and you mentioned this, to have the conversation with the kids, even as a foresight before she starts implementing like her say. I literally just had this conversation with the kids just not too long ago. I'm a little lenient when it comes to movies and shows.
Okay.
I'm pretty much steer the kids away. It used to be like no sex or cussing.
Okay.
But now since they go to public school, man, ever since public school, these kids come home like, wait, where you hear that from? Like, how you know what that means? I'm just like, I'm like, okay, you guys hear this all the time.
Right.
So now it's just like no sex in shows and movies, and we good. Well, my girlfriend is like, well, this is still insinuating this. Like,
right. Exactly.
And like, so she has a better handle on some of the stuff. And I'm just like, and I'll sit there and watch certain things with them. Like violence, I do not care about. Like especially my daughter, she wants to watch like Die Hard and all these. Like, I'm like, let's do it.
Wow.
Let's do it. And so, but my girlfriend, she's just like, she has a better handle on it. And sometimes she'll be like, she'll come to me first. She'll be like, yo, this is not appropriate. Like you need to fast forward this or cut this off or and they've like recently they've been getting like, my son has been getting the attitude like, oh, we gotta turn it off. Like I'm like, hold up, bro. So I just had a conversation with them last Wednesday. And I told him like, look, if Claudia tells you that you need to turn something off or fast forward something, just do it, because 10 times out of 10, she's right. And if I let you watch something, it's my fault that I let you watch it without surveying it. So I let them know, like, and I let them know like the importance of her protecting their minds and their eyes and all that stuff. And I told them like I have been wrong with certain shows that I let you guys watch. It's my fault.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so from here on out, if she tells you that you need to, turn to a different show or a movie, then you need to do it immediately with no attitude. And so it then allows her to, step into that role.
Right. And
say that without her feeling bad about doing it.
Right.
If they like, all right, she said it. We just got to,
right.
As my dad tells them, leap to obedience.
Yeah, I mean, the support is key. I think you said something right there. Like, as long as you are supporting her, in her decisions, and she's that gives her more confidence to, say certain things when they happen. Instead of just wait till your daddy gets home, that type of situation. Like, nobody wants to be in that situation. But man, you got your 9-year-old watching Die Hard,
man.
Wow, boy.
There's so many lessons. There's so many.
He said there's so many lessons. Nah,
So many-
I tried to make sure my kids were as innocent as possible for as long as possible. So I didn't allow no R-rated movies until they was like 15.
Yeah.
Like I was kind of strict on that. But at the time, it was a lot of like shows and movies that they could watch. You know, I don't know now, but you know,
we're about to watch Gladiator.
Yeah, I'm about to watch Gladiator. Yeah, so you know, it's you know, to each his own, but you know, like you said, you just said it, so I'm gonna repeat it. You know, you're 10 times out of 10 wrong. You know, so because you gotta guard their gates, even if they don't guard their gates, and even if they hear it all day in school and stuff like that. Like there has to be a place where it's not allowed. You know, and it can't just be church. You got to be at the crib. You know, and so but that's just my take on it. You know what I'm saying? Parent how you parent. You know,
he judging me, y'all.
But you know, I'm a big proponent of guarding your gates. You know what I'm saying? Your eyes, your ears, you know, and the things that you put in your mouth. So the communication is paramount. Long-term success depends on gradual trust building. We know that, and that's with any relationship, but especially with a child-parent relationship and a co-parent relationship, because now there's essentially I've heard it called a bonus parent. We used to just call it a step parent, but now it's a bonus parent. So you know, I'll use 2025 lingo.
Bonus mom,
the bonus mom, bonus parent, bonus this, bonus that, bonus kid. Like it's not mother-in-law, daughter. It's not my daughter-in-law. I've heard, oh, that's my daughter in love. I heard that now. That's my daughter in love. That's my son in love. I'm like, okay, that's what we doing. Okay, I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at it. You know, it's a bonus. It's
who said that? You know, black people to say that.
Of course, of course. But you know, it is what it is. But you know, as we said, you know, you got to respect the child's individuality, and you got to be consistent, right? And I think that goes across the board. I know we're talking about parent-child relationships, but that's really any relationship. You just got to be consistent, and it just creates a good foundation. All right, so what happens when it's a situation like I said in that video where, you know, the mom, the bonus mom, the biological mom is mad at or doesn't even know the other mother, the other partner, right? So in my situation, they've only met once.
To this day?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I've been with her for 14, 15 years. And so they only met one time. Right?
That's wild.
And yeah, that's what it was. It was just a short, brief. I just want to see what you look like, what you would look like, who you are, and that was it. that was it. But for other situations, what is a good medium for the former and the new to meet? Like, do you think that they should have a relationship? Should they have each other's number?
It all varies.
I know it all varies.
No, I'm gonna tell you why. Because there are so many, and I because I know a lot of divorced, you know, parents, and then now they got a new partner, and I say it all varies because it really and truly all varies. You got an amazing situation. I'll give you an example for my situation growing up. My dad and stepdad, they were tight. And not tight like they went out for beers and stuff, because my dad lived in LA, we lived in the Bay at the time. But there was a huge mutual respect for each other. My dad really respected my stepdad, and my stepdad had nothing but love for my dad. And
so I think that's different.
Yeah, but
that's different because we're talking about males, right?
Right.
I'm talking about
the females.
Because I'm cool with like my oldest son's stepdad, right? Like he's an artist, like he married his mom, and he taking care of the family. Like, me and him are cool.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really like talk to him offline, but I would. You know what I'm saying? We didn't share beers together. You know what I'm saying? Just what I'm saying? Like, for dudes, it's mostly like, as long as you respecting my kids and you taking care of them, like,
That's all we care about.
That's all we care about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So as dudes, like, we're gonna be cool. You know what I'm saying? But I'm talking about.
But that's not for every dude, though. Not every dude is like that.
Not every dude is like that, but the majority of dudes are gonna be, as long as you're being respectful, you're not being disrespectful, you're not out here, you know what I'm saying, ganging, and you know what I'm saying.
That's so many variables, though.
Like, I know that's a lot of variables, but we're just talking about. I'm just talking about, in general, respectable situations.
That's with two men being adults, acting like adults.
But for the majority on the other side, it's different for women. It's more because girls already don't get along, even with their own friends. They be beefing it. Like, when's the last time you be beefing with your homeboys? Like, that just doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But on girls, we don't really beef. It's like, oh, okay, that's how you feel. All right,
yeah, all right then. Right.
We just out.
But for women, it's different. Like, even in their own crew, they be beefing with each other. So my question is more about the female partner, because we're talking about
Even still talking about the female partner, it varies, and I'm gonna tell you why. And I'll narrow it down to this: if you have two female partners that are going to respect each other and act like adults, and I'm saying act like adults, is because it is very rare that adults actually act like adults. And I'm talking about every adult, not just in this situation. Okay. It is very rare that you have two adults, or adults in general, acting like adults. It's very rare.
Okay, so let's get specific then. For you and your situation, do your new girlfriend and your ex-wife have a relationship?
No.
Are they cordial? Has there been any beef, any altercations, any situations, any like complaining, any of that?
I just think that they're not gonna like each other, and they're never gonna have a relationship. And
I mean, you don't have to have a relationship, but that's what I'm asking more like. Is it cordial?
The communication is
like,
very.
Do they have each other's number?
They do have each other's numbers.
Okay.
The communication is very minimal.
Okay, which it needs to be.
Yeah. And so, I mean, that's really what it is. Like, it's just very minimal. Whereas I know people who, and they're two women adults, and I don't want to say that they're like best friends or anything, but they could coexist and talk to each other in the same space.
They come to each other's like birthday parties and stuff like that. So now that brings up a whole nother can of worms, and I know we're gonna have to end here soon, but my question is more of, if your son has a birthday party, is it gonna be two separate birthday parties, or is your girlfriend coming to the birthday party, the one birthday party, and your ex-wife is gonna be there too?
We're all at the same birthday.
Y'all all at the same. Oh, well, that's cool then. That's cordial. Like, for me, like, it was never that. My people got either two birthday parties, or we just celebrated.
But I will say this, because you mentioned my son. My daughter, for 2 years in a row, had a girls only birthday party where I wasn't invited, but neither was my girlfriend.
Right. Okay.
Right. So,
yeah, because that would still be weird.
Right.
Like, especially if they don't have a.
And it was like in a hotel, like
hotel.
Yeah, like
a banquet room.
No, like sleepover.
Oh, okay. With all the homegirls. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. All right. Well, any last advice? Like, when should parents seek advice from a counselor or a family therapist before introducing someone new, or if there's any issues? Like, how far should it go before there needs to be some type of counseling going on?
Oh, I just think that if you can sense that there's some major issues going on, or like maybe like there's separation anxiety or anything like that, then yeah. But if there's just like things that can be resolved or solved with basic communication,
Right.
like in constant communication and making sure that there's clarity, making sure that there's, expectations are, drawn out.
Then it should be good.
Yeah, everyone has a role. Like, hey, things should be good.
But also, go to God in prayer about your relationships
Absolutely, all the time.
before you start. Seek the kingdom first. But if you do need help, any type of professional advice, please seek that out. It's better for everybody if we have open communication. And if you can't solve that on your own, then seek help, because it helps your children. It helps them to grow. It helps them to ultimately, it helps them to become better humans. And as a parent, that's your job, is to help, the next generation become, stand on our shoulders. That's what I like to say, become better humans than we were, and our parents before us. So, seek professional help. You can always go to witherspooncounseling.com, and he can help you out here. This young man right here can help you out with some advice and or some therapy if you need it. As always, I'm Dewan. This is Dante. This is Fathers Handling Business. We appreciate you tuning in with us today, and we'll catch y'all next time.
Yes,
all right.
Peace. Boom. Got one of the books. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, man. It was I didn't even tell you this.